When you hear the word Diablo, what comes to mind? Is it the Spanish word for devil? Maybe. But among gamers, it conjures images of demons, skeletons, and zombies. It brings back memories of battling hordes of hellish fiends to grow in power and take on their evil masters, and ultimately push back the tides of hell and save humanity. By now, every gamer, or at least every ARPG gamer, has heard or said themselves,
D4 bad.
It's a meme how bad Diablo 4 is, compared to the old days of Blizzard and compared to the nostalgia of the old Diablo games, specifically Diablo 2. Things look even worse when you compare Diablo 4 to its competition, and we will get to that later. But how did we get here? What does the journey look like? Well, I aim to answer these questions in this video. In 1993, Condor was founded by David Brevik, Eric Schaefer, and Max Schaefer. Their journey began at a clip art production studio called FM Waves, where they met and decided to create a dungeon crawler inspired by Dungeons & Dragons, infused with roguelike gameplay. In April of 1996, Blizzard Entertainment acquired Condor and renamed the studio Blizzard North, and the studio kept full autonomy. By this point, the name Blizzard Entertainment already carried weight due to the success of Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, and Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness. But even knowing this, it's impressive to see how excited people were when Max Schaefer showed off the game on the PBS show Computer Chronicles.
Well, if you're a gamer, there's nothing more exciting than the anticipation of a hot new game, and the one everyone's been waiting for is Diablo. In fact, when Blizzard Entertainment posted an online notice saying it was looking for 1,000 beta testers, nearly 250,000 gamers applied, and all 1,000 tester slots were filled in the first 3 minutes.
Diablo released on January 3rd, 1997, and was an immediate favorite of Blizzard fans, even though the gameplay was brutal and punishing. In terms of copies sold, Max Schaefer is quoted as saying, "We were thinking that if everything went well, we would sell 100,000 copies." Pre-orders surpassed 450,000 units, and post-launch it reached 2.3 million copies sold across all platforms. Then came the game that everybody talks about, Diablo 2. This next entry in the series not only built on its predecessor, but it redefined the ARPG genre. After the successful release of Diablo, Blizzard North got to work on the next title in its series, Diablo 2. This game made significant improvements on its predecessor, such as having significantly expanded lore and richer narrative, 7 distinct character classes, improved graphics and atmosphere, more complex skill and item systems, and various quality of life improvements. But how did it do in sales? Diablo 2 released on June 28, 2000, and sold 184,000 copies on the first day, 1 million copies after the first 2 weeks, and 2 million copies after 1.5 months. The game was awarded a spot in the year 2000 Guinness World Records for being the fastest-selling PC game at that time. The game reached 4 million total sales at last count. So obviously the game was popular, it was well-loved, and it still is to this day. Anytime a new ARPG comes out, it is always compared to Diablo 2 in one way or another. By 2003, Blizzard North had 2 games in development, Diablo 3, and a new IP described as a Diablo-like in space. But due to financial issues with Blizzard Entertainment and by association the parent company Vivendi, there were concerns among Blizzard North employees. On June 30th, 2003, the heads of Blizzard North, Blizzard Entertainment, and Vivendi all met, which concluded in David Brevik and the Schaefer brothers tendering their resignations. This meeting seemed to signal a shift in policy or procedure, suggesting Blizzard North might lose its autonomy, face changes in monetization strategies, or both. With the loss of David Brevik and the Schaefer brothers, this began a mass exodus of Blizzard North employees, ending with 30 employees in total leaving the company. On August 1st, 2005, Blizzard Entertainment announced the closure of Blizzard North. A key reason they listed was their poor handling of development of Diablo 3. So Blizzard Entertainment took over and developed Diablo 3. This explains the 12-year gap between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. The team Blizzard Entertainment put together to work on the game had never worked on a Diablo game before, and so had to learn from scratch how to make the next iteration. This also explains the change in visual style, the change to online only, and the change in focus on monetization. These changes didn't stop players from buying up copies of Diablo 3 as fast as possible, though. When Diablo 3 released on May 15, 2012, it sold 3.5 million copies in the first 24 hours, and set a new record for the fastest-selling PC game. As of August 2015, the game has sold over 30 million copies. But even though the game sold insanely well, this could be attributed to the nostalgia of Diablo 2 and Blizzard Entertainment's massive advertising campaigns for the game. Because even with those crazy sales numbers, people definitely had complaints about the game. Complaints about how easy the first playthrough was, the real money auction house taking away any reason to keep playing when you can just buy exactly what you want, the art style changing from darker and more gritty to something more akin to World of Warcraft, and the introduction of cosmetic microtransactions. The changes from Diablo 2 to Diablo 3 were striking. They were apparent, and fans took notice. And now we reach the stage we are all most familiar with, Diablo 4. There was a lot of hype surrounding Diablo 4 after it was announced, and especially after gameplay was shown. Everyone thought it was going to be a return to the roots of Diablo. Something more akin to Diablo 2 in terms of dark and gritty art style, and more difficult and satisfying to play than Diablo 3. And this is what the Diablo 4 team themselves said in the announcement.
Diablo 4 is dark. You just saw the cinematic, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Whether it's the art, the story, or the horror elements that we've embraced, the first thing you will notice about Diablo 4 is that we are going back to the franchise's darker roots. It'll mean blood and gore. It'll mean occult symbols and rituals. More importantly, it will mean victories are neither clean nor guaranteed. And as we go deeper and deeper into the depths below, a truly dark, gothic, and medieval version of hell. Whether it's the sense of dread from Diablo 1, or the classic class lineup and loot chase that we still are inspired by from Diablo 2, or the best-in-class visceral and fluid combat from Diablo 3 that we still enjoy, we are approaching this series with complete reverence, and we hope that it shows.
But what we got fell flat. Diablo 4 monetization was egregious before it even launched because of the tiers. You could buy the standard edition for $70 and play on launch day. Or you could buy the deluxe edition for $90 and play 4 days early, as well as getting a special mount armor, and battle pass. Yes, that's right. Diablo 4 also came with a battle pass. But it didn't stop there. You could pay $100 for the Ultimate Edition to get everything listed plus a special emote. So before the game was even launched, people already had a sour taste in their mouths because there was obviously a focus on monetization. And players could only hope that they had put the same amount of effort into making the gameplay great. Diablo 4 launched on June 5th, 2023 and became the fastest selling game in Blizzard's history, making $666 million in the first 5 days after launch. The game reached 12 million players by August 2023. The game sold incredibly well and people were playing like crazy for a few months. But then interest began dying off fast. People realized that they didn't quite hit on those promises from the announcement. The gameplay falls flat very fast. The bosses are boring, the monetization is annoying, and you can just tell the focus was on making the most money possible and not on making an absolutely mind-blowing game. Today we can see a high of 10,000 players on Steam, and if we extrapolate from that for the Battle.net launcher and consoles, we can estimate around 40,000 players playing this game regularly. 40,000 is definitely a decent number if it was an indie game. But for Blizzard's big return to form with Diablo, this is just sad. Especially when you look at Diablo 4's main competition, Path of Exile 2, holding steady at 330,000 players, and it's been 3 weeks since launch. And PoE 2 is in early access, it's not even fully released yet. Diablo 1 set the tone for the series with art style, difficulty, and gameplay. Diablo 2 expanded on it in terms of gameplay, story, and narrative with updated graphics. Diablo 3 was made by a completely different group of people with a focus on monetization, completely changed the art style, and was made too easy. Diablo 4 was supposed to be a return to the roots of Diablo by incorporating all of the best aspects of previous Diablo games while bringing graphics and gameplay into the modern era. But all it was really able to accomplish was the graphics. The gameplay falls short compared to its main competition, Path of Exile 2, and even when compared to Diablo 2, which people still do. The Diablo games definitely sell well. Definitely, there's no denying that. But when you focus on sales first, monetization first, and not gameplay first, the game suffers. And so does the player base. And if the players are let down long enough, they will stop buying your games completely. How many of you said you wouldn't buy another Diablo game after Diablo 3? Or how many of you said that after Diablo 4? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.